He was the symbol of loyalty, the face of Real Madrid's golden years, a captain who led with silence and spoke through goals. But despite conquering Europe, breaking records and carrying the weight of a dynasty, Raúl González Blanco never touched football's most prestigious award, the Ballon d'Or. He had everything: titles, goals, respect. But still, when the lights shone brightest, someone else's name was called. This is the story of the Ballon d'Or that Raúl never won. Raúl was born in Madrid in 1977, a kid who breathed football before he could even walk. His father was a die-hard Atletico Madrid fan, and that's where Raúl's journey began, in the youth ranks of Atleti. But fate had other plans. In 1992, Atletico shut down their youth academy due to budget issues, a decision that would change football history, because that's when Real Madrid stepped in. At just 15, Raúl joined Los Blancos, and within a year, he was already breaking records in the youth teams. His talent was undeniable, his instincts special. He wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, but his movement, his calmness, his finishing, they were world-class. At 17 years old, Raúl got the call every kid dreams of: a debut for Real Madrid's first team. It was October 29, 1994. A teenager, thin and shy, wearing the number 7 shirt. The same shirt once worn by club legends. Real Madrid's coach, Jorge Valdano, had seen something others didn't. He said, "Raúl has the soul of a champion. He plays with the heart of Madrid." Raúl didn't score that night, but his hunger, his fight, his passion won the crowd over. And just a week later, against Atletico Madrid, his former club, Raúl scored his first goal for Real Madrid, the youngest ever scorer in club history at the time. And from that moment, Spain had a new hero. By the late 1990s, Real Madrid were back among Europe's elite, and Raúl was their symbol. He wasn't flashy, he didn't dive, he didn't celebrate wildly. He just scored every week, every competition. From 1998 to 2002, he won 3 Champions Leagues and 4 La Liga titles. He scored in finals, he scored in El Clasicos, he scored when no one else could. That goal against Leverkusen in 2002 made him the first player ever to score in 2 Champions League finals. In an era filled with stars like Zidane, Figo, Beckham, Rivaldo, Raúl was the one constant. The captain, the worker, the soul of Madridismo. By 2001, Raúl was at the peak of his powers. He had scored 32 goals, won La Liga, and led Real Madrid to another European semi-final. Everyone, fans, journalists, players, expected Raúl to finally win it. He had been consistent for years. He was the captain of the biggest club in the world. But when the results came in, the Ballon d'Or went to Michael Owen. It shocked Spain, it disappointed millions of Madrid fans, and it marked the start of one of football's greatest injustices. Because Raúl wasn't just good, he was era-defining. He ended 2001 as the Champions League top scorer, the La Liga top scorer, and the UEFA Forward of the Year. But somehow it still wasn't enough. That night, football showed its cruel side. Numbers, leadership, loyalty, none of it mattered. The award slipped away. But Raúl didn't complain. He didn't post statements. He didn't beg for recognition. He did what he always did, he worked harder. And while others chased headlines, Raúl chased greatness. The years after 2002 marked a turning point for Raúl González. He was still the heart of Real Madrid, still the captain, still the player who symbolized their identity. But football was changing fast. New stars were arriving every summer, and Real Madrid's Galacticos era began to take over the headlines. Zidane, Ronaldo, Nazario, Figo, Beckham, the club became a galaxy of talent, and Raúl, who had carried the team before them, was suddenly less in the spotlight. Yet he never complained, he adapted. He worked, he kept scoring and leading. He wasn't the loudest voice in the dressing room, but when Madrid needed someone, Raúl was there. His leadership wasn't in words, it was in actions, in the way he tracked back to defend, in the way he pressed, in the way he celebrated goals with quiet pride. While others sought fame, he stayed loyal to the badge. For him, football wasn't about attention, it was about purpose. By 2003, Madrid won La Liga again, with Raúl still scoring double figures. But the shine of the Galacticos distracted from his brilliance. The media loved the flair of Zidane and Ronaldo, while Raúl's calm efficiency was taken for granted. Even as his numbers stayed strong, the recognition faded, the Ballon d'Or. It was no longer even in conversation. Yet Raul's impact stretched beyond numbers. He was the bridge between two eras, the pre-Galactico warriors and the modern superstars. Younger players admired him, veterans respected him. Inside Real Madrid, he was the standard. Outside, he was the definition of a true professional. Still, as years passed, it became clear that the football world valued flash over consistency. Players who had one extraordinary year were celebrated, while Raul's decade of dominance was quietly ignored. By 2004 and 2005, Madrid was struggling. The team was unbalanced, and critics began to question whether Raul was past his prime. He was no longer the unstoppable forward of the late 90s, but rather a leader carrying the pressure of an entire club. He changed positions, moving deeper, becoming more of a playmaker than a finisher. His intelligence on the pitch allowed him to survive even when his speed declined. Despite the chaos around him, managers being sacked, trophies slipping away, Raul remained a constant. He became Madrid's all-time top scorer. He surpassed Di Stefano's record. He became the Champions League's all-time leading scorer for years. Still, no Ballon d'Or, no global recognition. It was as if the world had grown used to his excellence. 2006 brought heartbreak. Spain were eliminated early from the World Cup, and many blamed the old guard, including Raul. Younger players were coming through, and for the first time, he was left out of the national team setup. It was the end of an era for Spanish football, and Raul quietly stepped away from the spotlight, replaced by the generation that would go on to win everything. But he didn't stop, he kept playing, kept fighting. By 2008, Real Madrid were rebuilding. The goals were harder to come by, but the hunger never faded. Every time he scored, he still kissed the ring the same way he did as a kid. The same passion, the same meaning. In 2010, after 16 years at Real Madrid, Raul finally decided it was time. He had given the club everything: 741 appearances, 323 goals, 6 league titles, 3 Champions Leagues, and countless memories. When he left, the Bernabeu stood up and applauded for minutes. There were tears, silence, then more applause. Madrid wasn't just losing a player. They were losing their identity. He joined Schalke in Germany, where many thought his career would fade quietly. But even there, Raul proved them wrong. He led the team to a Champions League semi-final, scored stunning goals, and was loved by fans who didn't even speak his language. The respect followed him everywhere he went, because football recognized something greater than trophies: integrity, humility, and heart. As his playing days neared the end, the Ballon d'Or still never came, but something deeper did. His name was spoken with respect by every generation of players who followed. Messi, Ronaldo, Benzema, all of them mentioned Raul as one of their idols. His calmness, his leadership, his class. Raul's legacy wasn't written in golden trophies or headlines. It was written in consistency, in the way he carried Real Madrid for over a decade, and in how he made winning seem ordinary. He was the standard before others became stars. Football may have forgotten to give him the Ballon d'Or, but it gave him something greater: eternal respect. Because legends aren't defined by awards, they're defined by how the game remembers them. And football will always remember Raúl González Blanco, the silent king of Madrid, the leader who never needed the crown. Raúl González's story didn't end when he retired. In fact, his legacy only grew stronger. Time has a way of revealing truth, and with every passing year, more people began to realize just how much Raúl had meant to football. When fans talk about Real Madrid today, names like Cristiano Ronaldo, Benzema, and Modric dominate the conversation. But if you trace the DNA of Madrid, the grit, the hunger, the refusal to give up, you'll find Raúl's fingerprints all over it. He was the template, the quiet warrior who showed that you can be a superstar without ever acting like one. In a football world full of noise, Raúl's greatness was silent: no controversy, no arrogance, no drama, just pure football. He played every game like it was his last, whether it was a Champions League final or a meaningless preseason match. That's what made him special. That's what made him a legend. The Ballon d'Or, as prestigious as it is, often rewards moments: a great season, a golden month, a big tournament. But Raúl wasn't a moment player. He was an era for over a decade. He was Real Madrid's heartbeat, Spain's hope, and Europe's most consistent performer. Yet because his greatness wasn't loud, it slipped through the cracks. That's the tragedy and beauty of his story. Raul didn't need the Ballon d'Or to validate him. His validation came every weekend, from teammates who trusted him, from fans who adored him, and from opponents who respected him. And when you think about it, that's what football should be about. Not golden statues or gala nights, but respect, the kind that lasts forever. When he retired in 2015, after stints in Qatar and the USA, Raul had scored over 400 career goals and won every major club trophy. But perhaps his greatest accomplishment wasn't any of those titles. It was the way he carried himself with humility, loyalty, and grace. Even today, young players at Real Madrid are taught the Raul way. Show up early, train harder than anyone, play with respect, represent the badge. That's his legacy, a standard that goes beyond the game. It's poetic, really. The player who never won the Ballon d'Or became the example that Real Madrid still teaches their players to follow. The man who was never crowned the best is remembered as one of the greatest. So maybe Raul's story isn't about injustice. Maybe it's about something deeper, that true greatness doesn't always need to be awarded, it needs to be remembered. Because while golden trophies fade, the stories of men like Raúl González Blanco last forever. He was never given the Ballon d'Or, but he was and always will be the beating heart of Real Madrid, a legend who didn't need recognition to be eternal. Subscribe to our channel for more snub stories.